Hello, everybody. Welcome back to this Your Tropical Update for September 2nd. We're currently watching Category 1 now, Hurricane Danielle. Invest 91L. Invest 94L is now dissipating out. We're watching Invest 93E for potential impacts to southern Mexico and Baja California, potentially significant, and Tropical Storm Javier, which we won't talk about just in passing so you know where it's at on the map there. Here's the GFS model for Tuesday morning. We're watching the storms that I just mentioned. So 93E at this point is likely a hurricane on the GFS model, at least southwest of Mexico, making its way up towards Baja California. Invest 91L at this point is likely a tropical storm north of Puerto Rico, about halfway between there and Bermuda. And then we still have a category something, probably 2, Hurricane Danielle, maybe even category 3 over the North Atlantic. In fact, speaking of Danielle, it's a new record. The longest time we've went without a hurricane was almost a whole year in the 80s. And this one now 332 days without a hurricane. That ended today with the formation of Danielle, strengthening rather of Danielle into a hurricane. Not the most beautiful hurricane you've ever seen in your life, but it does look like a hurricane. And for being that far up into the north, it certainly looks like a hurricane. We have heavy convection around the center, an eye-like feature, of course, getting some dry air wrapped in there as well. But it shouldn't be too much of a problem for this one. You continue to strengthen into a Category 2 hurricane, maybe even a Category 3. Winds right now 75 miles an hour with this one. Potential tropical storm impacts of the Azores come Tuesday or Wednesday, perhaps even sometime after that, as we see here on the spaghetti plots. It's taking it to the north of the Azores being those islands there around 30 degrees west. And it stays to the north, but they're still going to have impacts, especially with such a large storm. Of course, being this far north, as it begins to become non-tropical, the storm will expand the wind field, which means if it takes one of those paths towards the south, like the UK Met shows, those blue models there, that could be more significant. And as we see on the blue models here, those are the potentials for it to be a stronger storm than what it is now anyway. So stronger, closer to the islands, getting bigger all at the same time. Potential impacts to the Azores, as I mentioned. Here's 91L, still not looking like a tropical cyclone yet. We have a plane in there right now, but it doesn't look like a tropical storm. And so as we see here, the Hurricane Center now is still at a 70% chance of formation within the next 5 days. Not a tropical cyclone, but we're continuing to watch it, and it likely will become one at some point. In fact, the models are fairly certain of that, as I'll show you guys here on the next slide. But it should also avoid Bermuda, which is good. As we see on this slide here, you can see Bermuda at the very tip top, right up near 32 degrees north, and all the models take it out to sea, curving away. But you also see, based off the intensity, this thing will be a Category 1 hurricane around Tuesday or Wednesday, potentially even stronger than that as we move on with time and as it slowly makes its turn out to sea. I'll briefly talk about 94L. There's not anything much to talk about because look at it. Where is the convection? Where is the rotation? It's not there. Hurricane Center down to 0% chance formation within the next 5 days, and it won't develop. Invest 93E, moving to the Eastern Pacific. Why am I talking about the Eastern Pacific when all I talk about is the Atlantic? Well, here's why. It has potential land impacts to southern Mexico as well as Baja California, potentially significant as a hurricane making landfall in a decently populated area, and therefore it merits being discussed, especially if people are on vacation there, or even people in Southern America, like the United States of America, need to watch this one because it could bring some unexpected rain into the southern United States in a little over a week from now. So 80% chance formation within the next 5 days. With this guy, as we see here, it runs up Baja California, and then after that, of course, will make its way into the southern United States. Potentially, it could also turn out to sea. There's kind of some discrepancy. Of course, that's far out in time at this point. So we just want to keep an eye on all of those potentials right now. We'll see exactly what happens, how tightly it curves in. Will it curve in south of Baja? Will it curve, halfway up the peninsula? How far up will it go? How much will it hurt the people there. And as we can see from the intensity discrepancies here, anything from a tropical storm to a Category 4 hurricane is possible with this one. So honestly, there's still a lot to work out with this storm as it continues to develop. The impact map, I've upped it to a moderate along the Baja California area. Again, hurricane force winds are possible on land, and therefore that merits a moderate risk for the Baja California general vicinity. Of course, even mainland Mexico, western mainland Mexico, as well as southern Mexico need to keep an eye on that one. The Azores, Leeward Islands, and Bermuda need to keep an eye on Danielle and 91L respectively. Here's a look at the European ensemble models as we see Tropical Storm Javier makes its way out, goes out to sea away from land, potentially some minor impacts, including isolated amounts to 4 inches of rain in the Baja, which would actually be really bad considering 93E is going to make its way up there potentially as a hurricane. Why is that so bad? Well, if it saturates the ground first, right, and then another hurricane comes, that just makes the flooding all the more worse. So just keep an eye on how those two features interact in southern Baja California. So again, 93 making its way up that way. 91L going to make its turn. A wide discrepancy here. I've used discrepancy a lot, but that's kind of where we're at, honestly. Another tropical wave develops off the coast of Africa. Danielle makes its way off to Europe finally. In about 5 to 7 days, it finally begins to turn from staying stationary. And GFS ensembles telling much the same story. A little support for 94L developing, but not a whole lot. It moves 91L northward quicker and stronger. It does the same with 93E. It moves it northward stronger than it did than the European ensembles do, and that's notable because the stronger the hurricane, of course, the worse impacts to Baja California. It also has Danielle as slightly stronger. There's also some activity off the east coast of the United States, probably nothing going to develop, but something to keep an eye on nonetheless. The GFS likes having storms that develop even if they don't. That's all for today. Again, as I mentioned, I'm on a silent retreat this weekend, so I'll probably pre-record a video right now for Saturday, and you're asking how can I record a video for Saturday's weather. It's going to be a guesstimate, so we'll see exactly what happens with Saturday. I'll have a pre-recorded video, I guess, that will post at the normal time, and then on Sunday I'll have a video out in the late afternoon, evening, nighttime, something like that, to update on what could be going on, because at that point we could have names on both 93E and 91L, and of course those systems potentially impacting land, especially 93E. So that's all for now. Chris 674, Catholic Media.